right, continuing with domain 5.1, let's go over monitoring and revision in security governance. So this is the process of regularly reviewing and updating security policies, procedures, and controls. So this is going to give us continuous improvement, continuous compliance checks, and also we can kind of create a feedback loop, right, for our security teams. If we do audits, if we have incidents that happen throughout the year, we want that input. We want stakeholders to tell us what we're doing well when it comes to like the management of it. We also want to make sure that we are in compliance and always being in compliance by updating things, right? Being subscribed to feeds that tell you, hey, there was a change to PCI DSS, or hey, there was a change to the GDPR. So boards and governance structures. So a group of high-level stakeholders to provide strategic direction. This is like a board for business, right? Sometimes in security, depending on if we have an international organization where security is a primary function, we're going to have a stakeholder board that's whole purpose is to just make sure that we have good data security and that we're in compliance and we understand the governance of security within our organization. High level, right? They're not going to be like, we need to implement this vendor's EDR solution. They're going to tell us that we need endpoint protection and that our endpoints need this level of security. And then we go through, right? Kind of this is the managerial perspective of governance. Committees. So these are groups formed to focus on specific aspects of security governance, still high level, but it's more specific, right? This could be, hey, we just found out that at a high level, we're not PCI compliant. Put together a committee of the IT director, the CISO, and someone high level on the dev team, maybe a TPM, and we're going to put together a committee, and they're going to make sure that this happens, right? Focus expertise. Government entities and governance structures. So national or international bodies that set laws, regulations, and standards for cybersecurity and data protection. So again, this is just us understanding what government entities we have to adhere to, right? Centralized versus decentralized governance structures. So in a centralized model, this is going to concentrate decision-making control within a single group, where decentralized is going to distribute that. Okay, so what we're seeing here is that if we have a large organization, do we want to just have one group making decisions for the entire organization, or we want to distribute that between our regions, something like that, right? If we have an overall security department, let's say for like, I don't know, grocery stores like Kroger, well, does every state, follow the policy set by a single CISO, or maybe do we have CISOs for each of our region that talk to maybe a CTO? So kind of had that decentralized or decentralized model that sometimes can also be blended, right? Now let's go over the different types of roles. So the role of owners. So this is like a data owner, guys. This is the owner of that data. This is going to be individuals or groups responsible for the overall stewardship of information assets. So accountability. Data owners are going to hold ultimate responsibility for the security and use of specific data or IT assets. Policy setting. This is going to define the acceptable use and security controls for the assets. And they're going to be doing risk management. So they're going to be involved in assessing and mitigating risks related to the asset. Controllers. These are data controllers, okay? Data controllers. These are entities that determine the purposes and means of processing personal data. So they're going to make decisions on how and why personal data is processed. They ensure that the activities comply with data protection laws like GDPR. Data processors, okay? So these are entities that process personal data on behalf of controllers. So imagine if I'm a data controller, right? So I'm like, hey, I need to make sure I'm in compliance. But guess what? I use an e-commerce service to do all my credit card sales. Well, guess who my data processor is? It's that e-commerce service I use. So this is like operationally, they're going to manage the actual processing of data as per the controller's instructions. So a great example of this is on my website. We're bringing it into view here. We use something called Stripe. So if I do CCNA Live virtual training, I hit buy now, powered by Stripe. My instructions were to Stripe saying, hey, you're going to process, e-commerce web payments for me. And I want you to have all these different payment methods. So in this scenario, Stripe is a data processor, but I'm still the data controller. So custodian slash stewards. So this role is called a data custodian or steward. So these are individuals or groups responsible for implementing the policies and procedures to protect data. So imagine this within an organization. We're the owner. We say, hey, like, I need encryption on this thing. I'm responsible. I need encryption on this database. I need encryption on this storage because during a data breach, I don't want this being exposed. The data custodian or steward is going to ensure that. They're going to implement and manage the security controls for data protection. Okay, let's go ahead and do our quiz. Okay, so quiz domain 5.1, going over governance structures, roles and responsibilities for systems and data. So question 1, what is the role of committees in an organization's security governance structure? That is going to be B, to provide a platform for cross-departmental coordination and oversight of security policies and strategies. You know, committees, they're dedicated to a certain thing within security. Question 2, what is the primary responsibility of a data or system owner in security governance? So that's going to be B, to ensure the system or data is used in compliance with policy and its intended purpose, including determining access rights. Question 3, what is a key difference between centralized and decentralized governance structures in security governance? So let's take a look here. We're going to go with A. So that's centralized governance consolidates decision-making, while decentralized governance distributes it across different units or locations. Question 4. In the context of data protection and security governance, what is the role of a data processor? Again, remember, that's kind of like that third party. That's to handle data on behalf of a data controller according to the controller's instructions. Question 5. Why is regular monitoring and revision an essential component of effective security governance? That's going to be C, to ensure that the governance framework adapts to evolving threats, technologies, and business objectives. Last question, why must an organization's security governance framework align with external regulatory requirements? That's going to be B, to ensure that the organization meets its legal obligations, minimizing the risk of penalties and reputational damage.